Loyalty is a word people love to use, but rarely understand. It's tattooed on skin, echoed in music, sworn in drunken conversations between men who would trade each other for opportunity the moment it arises. Loyalty is marketed as sacred, sold as strength, and praised as a virtue. But Niccolo Machiavelli saw it for what it really was, a convenient illusion. One of the most dangerous lies a powerful man can believe. Because the truth is this: there is no loyalty without leverage. You may think your friends are loyal. You may believe they'll never turn on you. But Machiavelli would ask, what do they have to gain by staying loyal? What do they have to lose by betraying you? Strip away the sentiment, and what's left is the calculus of self-interest. And once you see it, you'll never look at friendship the same way again. In The Prince, Machiavelli warned rulers never to rely on affection or goodwill. He advised that alliances must be built on shared interests, not emotional bonds. Because emotional bonds are fragile, they shatter under pressure, they evaporate in crisis. And when a man believes he is protected by friendship, he is most exposed to betrayal. The modern man is trained to value loyalty above all. But what he's rarely taught is how loyalty is kept alive, not by trust, not by love, but by power. As long as someone needs you, respects you, or fears losing what you provide, they will remain loyal. The moment that balance shifts, the moment you become dispensable or weak or irrelevant, loyalty turns into convenience. And convenience disappears the second it becomes inconvenient. Machiavelli understood something most men never do until it's too late. People are loyal to what they need, not to who you are. Your friend at work who always has your back. Remove your influence and see what happens. The childhood friend who swears loyalty over memories? Test it with ambition, with competition, with money, and watch how quickly nostalgia fades. Loyalty is romanticized by those who are naive and exploited by those who understand how power works. And here lies the first lie, that loyalty is unconditional. It isn't. It never was. Even family, what most consider the final frontier of loyalty, fractures when pride, inheritance, resentment, or envy come into play. Brothers have killed brothers for kingdoms, sons have betrayed fathers for thrones, and best friends have watched each other fall when the reward was large enough and the consequences low. You must never confuse proximity with loyalty. Just because someone stands beside you does not mean they are standing for you. Just because they've been around does not mean they'll stay. Loyalty in the Machiavellian sense is not about emotion. It is about advantage. And if you do not hold value in someone's life, if you are not essential to their vision, their survival, or their power, they owe you nothing. That may sound cold, but Machiavelli wasn't concerned with how things should be. He was concerned with how things are, and the world, in its rawest form, is not bound by fairy tales of friendship. It is bound by self-interest, fear, desire, and gain. This is why the most betrayed men in history were not the tyrants. They were the idealists, the ones who believed that loyalty meant permanence, the ones who thought that because they had bled with someone, they could never be cut by them. Caesar's last thought before the knife went in wasn't betrayal, it was confusion. Et tu, brute? That's the price of believing the lie. But Machiavelli's brilliance wasn't just in exposing the weakness of blind trust. It was in showing how loyalty could be manufactured, leveraged, and even weaponized. Loyalty, he said, should be earned not through love but through necessity. Make them need you. Make yourself indispensable. Make yourself a pillar in their ambitions, a key to their goals. Because loyalty born from admiration fades, but loyalty born from utility endures. Until you fail to be useful. That's not bitterness, that's clarity. The most powerful men do not surround themselves with friends. They surround themselves with people who cannot afford to betray them.
not because of fear, but because betrayal would cost too much. That's the power of leverage, and that's the only loyalty worth trusting. So what does this mean in your life? It means you stop confusing loyalty with history. Just because someone's been with you from the start doesn't mean they're meant to finish the journey. Often, those who walk with you the longest are the most resentful when you grow beyond them. They don't celebrate your evolution. They tolerate it until they no longer can. And when the moment comes where your success threatens their identity, they'll turn. It means you stop mistaking silence for support. Just because someone isn't criticizing you doesn't mean they believe in you. Often, the deepest envy is hidden behind quiet nods and vague congratulations. Machiavelli would remind you, pay attention not to what people say, but what they do when you win. It means you test loyalty through scarcity. Pull back, go quiet, stop giving. Watch who checks in when they don't need something. Watch who stays when your value is in question. That's the real test. And most people will fail it. Not because they're evil, but because they were never loyal to you, only to what you provided. You see, loyalty is rarely tested in hardship. It's tested in power. People will comfort you when you're broken, but they will compete with you when you rise. They'll sit beside you in pain, but resent you in success. Because your failure makes them feel noble, but your greatness makes them feel small. And no amount of loyalty survives that unspoken shame unless it's anchored in something real: mutual power, shared vision, or deep inner security. This is why Machiavelli valued fear more than love. Not fear as in abuse, but fear as in consequence. The knowledge that crossing you would cost them, that your absence would be felt, that your silence would echo. Because love makes people bold, but consequence makes them cautious. It's not enough to be liked. You must be needed, respected, untouchable in ways that go beyond personality. If someone believes they can survive without you, they will leave. But if your presence elevates them, if your alliance strengthens them, they'll stay. Not out of emotion, but because it is the logical move. This is not to say that all loyalty is fake. Genuine loyalty exists, but it is rare. And even rarer is the man who knows how to hold it without depending on it. You must learn to accept loyalty when it comes, but never require it. Trust people to be who they are, not who you want them to be. And never expect a lion to act like a lamb just because you fed it once. Machiavelli's most cutting insight was this: assume betrayal, and you will always be prepared. Assume loyalty, and you will eventually be destroyed. You don't build an empire on friendship, you build it on clarity. Clarity about who's real and who's convenient. Clarity about what you offer and what they want. Clarity about who has your back and who's just close enough to stab it. This doesn't mean becoming paranoid. It means becoming precise, strategic, selective. Build relationships with people who gain when you win. People whose loyalty is tied to mutual growth. People who don't need to see you small to feel secure. And above all, be the man who does not need loyalty to lead. Be the man whose value creates it. That is the Machiavellian code. You don't chase loyalty. You create conditions where it can't afford to leave. So what does real loyalty look like? If Machiavelli believed most friendships were built on illusion and leverage, how does one find or build something lasting? The answer is harsh but clear. You don't find it, you test for it. True loyalty is not built in moments of weakness. It's revealed in moments of strength. When you rise, when you succeed, when you no longer need them. That's when the masks slip. Because envy doesn't show up when you're broken. It shows up when you thrive. And most men have never been taught how to navigate the psychological threat of their own success. This is why betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from those who smiled with you. who knew your dreams, who encouraged you when you were behind. But when you passed them, when your light grew brighter than theirs, the unspoken agreement broke. Because what they supported was your struggle, not your supremacy. The moment your presence reminded them of their stagnation, the clock on their loyalty began ticking. Machiavelli never said this outright, but it echoes between the lines of The Prince. He understood that power breeds isolation, that true ascent reveals the fickleness of alliances, that the higher you rise, the smaller your circle becomes, not because you're too good for them, but because your presence begins to reflect what others haven't done. And people would rather distance themselves than confront that mirror. So how do you protect yourself? You stop asking who's loyal and start asking who's secure. Because loyalty is not the product of goodness, it is the product of ego stability. A man who knows who he is does not fear your strength. He celebrates it. A friend who is complete within himself will not betray you for a slice of power because he is building his own. But the insecure man, the quietly resentful man, the one who praises you in public but competes with you in secret, that's the man Machiavelli warned you about. You must understand that envy is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It smiles, it nods, it waits. And when the right opportunity comes, when betrayal becomes easy, low risk, and high reward, it strikes. And it always strikes from within. This is why kings were never killed by rebels. They were killed by advisors, by family, by the ones allowed closest, because we are taught to fear enemies. But Machiavelli taught us to fear the discontented friend who remains silent. He is the most dangerous of all, because you never see him coming. But again, this is not cause for paranoia. It's cause for awareness. Because not all loyalty is false. There is such a thing as aligned loyalty, loyalty that is grounded in mutual vision, shared power, and reciprocal gain. This is the kind of loyalty that thrives not on dependency, but on respect, not on proximity, but on values. You find this rarely, but you can build it if you choose wisely. So how do you do it? Start with alignment. Find people whose vision is not threatened by yours. Men who are building something of their own. Men who have tasted power and do not need to steal yours to feel strong. A friend who has his own empire will never try to take yours, because his pride is not threatened by your success. It's amplified by it. Then test them, not with traps, but with growth. Level up, evolve, sharpen. Watch what happens. The real ones will rise with you. They'll challenge you, not compete with you. They'll hold you accountable, not sabotage you. They'll never ask you to shrink so they can feel bigger. And if someone does, cut them off early. Because the man who asks you to dim your light today will find a reason to betray you tomorrow. Machiavelli would remind you, a betrayal delayed is still a betrayal planned. You must become cold where you were once sentimental, precise where you were once forgiving. Not cruel, just aware, not paranoid, just prepared. Trust, but never without leverage. Love, but never without clarity. And lead always with the understanding that friendship is not armor. It is a temporary alliance, strong only as long as the structure beneath it remains balanced. Do not fear losing people who cannot handle your rise. That is the price of progress. And Machiavelli would say, it's a price worth paying. Because the only circle worth keeping is the one that does not shatter when the spotlight hits. In fact, the spotlight is your greatest weapon. Shine it deliberately. Grow publicly. Become the man you were afraid to be, and watch who steps back, who flinches, who jokes too often at your expense, who goes silent when you speak, who disappears when the room starts clapping for you. That is the loyalty test. Because real loyalty doesn't whisper. It shows up. It invests. It defends you when you're not there. It doesn't ask for proof, it gives you peace. And you'll feel it when you have it, because it will be so rare, so refreshing, so frictionless, that it won't feel like loyalty at all. It will feel like strength reflected back at you. But until you find that, move alone. Machiavelli knew this, that solitude is better than betrayal, that walking alone with clarity is better than walking with men who are waiting for your moment of weakness, that the weight of leadership must be carried by someone who does not fear being alone at the top. Because the truth is, the lie behind loyalty isn't just that people betray you. The real lie is that you ever needed them not to. You do not rise through trust. You rise through truth, through watching actions, through understanding human nature, through knowing that loyalty is not owed. It is earned, held, and managed through power dynamics, not promises. This doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. It doesn't destroy connection. It filters it. And once you start living this way, something changes. You start surrounding yourself with people who are dangerous in their own right. People who are not afraid of your fire because they've mastered theirs. People who are not there for the climb. They're already at the summit, waiting for someone like you. This is how kings are made, not by trusting everyone, not by loving too easily, but by mastering the reality that people follow strength, not sentiment. They respect consequence, not comfort. And they stay loyal only when loyalty serves them. So make it serve them. Be undeniable. Be essential. Be powerful in such a way that losing you would be a downgrade. And those who still leave, let them. Let them walk away and thank them for their honesty. Because they showed you something most people hide until it's too late. That they were never loyal to you, only to the version of you that served them. And now, you've become the version that serves yourself. You've become sovereign, respected, untouchable, and that is the only kind of loyalty that matters.